Hello. Take your phone out of your pocket. Hi guys, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll just let a few people jump on here, and in the meantime, introduce ourselves. If you're new here, then welcome. Thanks for being here. My name's Lindsay, and this is Jess. We are the owners and operators at Cofell Performance Horses in London, Ontario. We are here every Tuesday night at 7:30 answering questions sent in by you guys. And if you're interested in watching any of the replays, I'm not sure how many videos we have now, but we have quite a few because we've been doing this for, how long have we been doing this for? 8 months?
I was going to say it was cold out when we started.
Every week for quite a while. So there's a lot of content now, and you can watch the replays by going to our website. And on our website, you go to the education tab. And in there, you can search for pretty well any topic, and anytime that we've talked about it, that will come up for you. You can also sign up to get the replays sent right to your inbox. And to do that, if you're on Facebook, you can go to our cover page. There's a little blue button in the corner that says sign up. You can also go to the link in our bio if you're finding us on Instagram. You can also go to just our website. You can go to www.hayescofellperformanceHorses.ca/subscribe and enter your email in, and every week, every Tuesday morning, you'll get an email that gives you a heads up about what we're talking about that evening for this live. It gives you an opportunity to reply if you have further questions about the topic. And it gives you a quick idea of what is new, what's going on, any upcoming events, any new tack that we've got on the tack shop, and what is happening in Momentum, our online program. So the question we're answering tonight is, how do I set up my new German Martingale? And we're going to talk about that and answer some of the other questions that came in about that. Jess is going to show you how to set it up here, and then we're actually going to put it on a horse so you can see how to do that right on the horse. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Before that, we wanted to give a shout out to everybody that we saw at the horse show. We spent the last few days at a horse show in Ancaster, Ontario, the Steel City Slide, and wanted to give a shout out to the organizers of the show. It was the first time they've done it. They did a fantastic job. I know we had a good time, and all of our clients had a good time, and definitely kudos to them. And thank you so much to all of you guys who approached us at the horse show and said that you've been watching and enjoying some of these lives, learning something, being entertained by it, implementing some of the things and having some success. That was really cool. And also to some of the Momentum members that we saw, some of you that we have not met in person before, that we met for the very first time. That was very cool, wasn't it?
There was a lot of people.
Yeah, it was neat. It was really fun. Really fun to hear how you guys are utilizing some of the content here in the free Facebook Lives, and also inside the online coaching program. Very cool. Okay, so back to the question for tonight. It looks like some of you guys are on here watching, and looks like you can hear us. I see some hellos coming in, so that's great. Hi, Kim. Awesome. Hi, Gail. All right, so how do I set up my new German Martingale? Where does the German Martingale go? Which way should I attach the reins? How do I adjust it for my horse? What bits can be used with it? And when would you use a German Martingale? These are the things we're going to talk about. Where do you want to start?
I feel like the when would be the best way to start.
All right.
So for me, I use a German Martingale quite a bit. I've used training forks, I've used draw reins. All have good spots, all have good effects or results if you use them properly. I use the German Martingale 99% of the time now, just because it's simple, it's easy, and so many horses can benefit from it. I use it right from the time we start, after we have some rides on them. Unlike the draw reins and the training forks, you don't have to switch them back and forth. If they use it properly, they don't learn to ride in that and then have to be retrained in a regular set of reins. All that's important when we do them is on the 2-year-olds, the aged horses. Whenever we put it on, it's so important to put it on before there's a problem, before there's a need for it, so that it's just there if you need it. So if it's adjusted properly, and we're going to do that with a horse, the strings won't be working on them. And that's the same with a training fork also. You should not have it low enough that from your horse's mouth to those rings or the pulley point up to your hands, there should never be where that goes up and down. It should always be where the horse has to bring his head up before he ever comes into contact with it. And I see that's one of the biggest things I see wrong when people are riding horses. All you gotta do is go around a horse show one day and watch people with training forks and Germans or any type of head setting device, and they have it set so low that, and the horse goes around with his head down or in or whichever position you want him in, and then when they take them off, the horse doesn't ride as well. And that's the biggest problem when people set them up wrong. If you set them up properly, the horse rides around with regular reins, they pull the regular way, and then if that horse gets out of position, gets into balance trouble and needs help, and he brings that head up for any which reason, then the German comes in and activates, and only then. And then you go right back to riding normally. If you set it up where the German comes in first, when you take that off, let's say you go show your horse in the 2-year-old snaffle bit class or something, you're pulling on a different part of his mouth. You're pulling on a different way. So then he goes, well, this is different, and he reacts differently to it. So that's a huge problem. The bits we use in them, most of the time, we use either just a plain snaffle or a twisted snaffle. Quite often I ride in just a large twist snaffle. These ones here, blued steel with a copper wrap in them. I ride 90% of the snaffle bitters in that for quite a while. I don't use smooth snaffles a ton.
You can with the German. Like if the question was what bits can
well,
be
I guess
used.
with the
yeah,
German.
you can. Mm-hmm.
You can use anything. I just like the twisted snaffles. If I don't need them, I don't use it. I don't need to pull them.
And not just for yourself. Like we would use this bit with a German martingale for a lot of people. A lot of different riders.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're just a neat little bit.
Well, I think a lot of people are a little bit intimidated by that twisted snaffle versus the smooth snaffle, and I feel like this is a good one for a lot of people to use.
A lot of the horses get in trouble with that smooth snaffle because they can push up on it, they can move their head around, and then once you put in a slow twist or a bigger twist, and it sounds, the bigger the twist, big twist snaffles are not as hard as smaller ones. So when I say a big twist, it's not a severe bit. The smaller the twists are actually more severe. But if I ride around normally, it doesn't do anything on their mouth, and then if I do pull and I need it, then I have as much pull as I need, as much bite on that face as I need. So I like to ride in those bits quite regularly. And I'll switch it around. I'll go into a smooth once in a while, and then I'll go into like a small twist every once in a while. And I like to kind of rotate through depending on what I'm doing. The nice thing with the Germans, or the reason that we use the Germans more than, let's say, draw reins, is that if I have draw reins on with regular reins, you have the double reins on them, you got to know where a lot of rein is all the time. And for me, I'm not that coordinated. I don't have a good feel, then I'm always worried about how much rein I have. It's hard to adjust. If you set up a German properly, You just ride like regular reins, and then when the horse gets into trouble, he gets the effect of the German, and then when he gets in good shape, it automatically releases and there's no big deal. So I have less to worry about. I can just worry about riding my horse. I can worry about training on him however I want, not having to worry about where those extra reins are. And then for the reiners and the cow horses especially, draw reins just don't, they work on lead changes, but I've never had any luck using draw reins on a stopping horse or a cow horse. It just pushes their head down too far. So once their head is into a decent position, again, the draw rein doesn't affect, and it's all good. So it's so important that they, that horse can ride with regular reins, feel like he has all that movement, know he can move his body in those positions, and he only gets the draw rein if he gets in trouble. And I feel like that's a huge benefit of the draw reins, or of the German Martingale. I guess that kind of covers where to, why would I use it. And when I adjust the German on a horse, where I want to set him is I want the horse to be natural, just standing there as natural as he was. And it's not where I want them to be, it's where they are natural. And I think that's where a lot of people get into problems in today's day and age. And everybody says, well, so-and-so's horse goes lower-headed. That's not what any of these devices are for. If that horse stands with his nose out just a little bit naturally, that's where I want to adjust it so that he can still be in his natural position. It's a little bit loose at that point, and it only comes into effect if his head comes up. And I think that's such an important part that's overlooked when people put martingales, training forks, anything like that on. If you're pulling them down into an unnatural position, as soon as you take it off, they will pop it back up and go, I'm free, and then you're in bigger trouble. Mm-hmm. So that's such an important part, is that they can be natural wherever their head goes, and then when I pull on them, they come in with their chin, and then they help you, and then they get into a better position. You can keep saying get into that better position, but you cannot start out with them in an unnatural position.
Yeah, I think the German is meant to help direct the pressure of the reins so that you get the horse coming into in the direction that you want. It's not meant to be a device that you put on that your horse then has to stay stuck in this frame. You're not forcing the horse into this position. You're just using it so that when you do pull, it pulls in the direction that you want, and they still have lots of space to get a complete release. If it's too tight, or if you're using a device that forces them into that position, they're gonna look for other places to evade. They're always gonna look for other places to evade. You have to set this up so that it's a tool and it's not a weapon, basically. Like anything, like any artificial or natural aid.
We'll get a horse.
Oh, you're not going to show us how to put these reins on here?
I was going to put it on the horse. It's easier. That's how I put them on. I'm going to put it on the horse.
All right, we're going to get a horse. I'm going to try to hold this camera still for you guys so that you can see how we put it on, and then we'll show you how to put it on, how to adjust the reins, and how to adjust it for the horse. Not sure where you went here. You can see our new stalls in here, if you haven't seen our new stalls yet. There we go. good.
Okay.
Right there. That's good.
Okay, so when you first get them, they're always kind of tangled up. And there's a zip tie on them. So the first thing I always do is I just take them right apart, take the strings off. So you just have normal reins. Don't do that with a knife in your hand. So these buckles go to the outside. On all the reins, doesn't matter if they're Germans or regular reins, make sure you tie a square knot. For anybody that's in the Boys or was in the Boy Scouts. And what that means is your tails come out the same way as that one. So when you flip it through, that comes out the same direction as the one below it. Pull them in tight. Obviously the same thing on both sides.
Let's see that knot again.
So I always make sure it's fairly snug in there just to make sure everything's tight first. That goes that way, and because that angle's that way, this way I'm going to go under. I'm sure if when I was in Boy Scouts there was like a little song to remember how to do that, and that's not what I remember. Some things that should be said. When you have snaffle bits, curb straps go underneath the reins. So many people we see put them on top, and that is actually not legal to show in, and it's not proper to ride it. So the curb straps have to be under. Just a heads up to everybody. So what I do with these is I just put a little knot in the very bottom. They're in there and they're really tight, but over years you will stretch them out just a little bit. So I just run that in, put a little knot in there. All the tags off of them.
He's chewing on it. It's brand new and he's already chewing on it.
So on these, there is an adjustment here. I try to leave this one fairly long. I know a lot of people like to shorten them up, but I actually like to have them a little longer. I ride with them under my breast collars. You can leave them out, but I just find they're neater and tidier when they're put on under there. And this is the part where everybody usually gets a little bit flustered over. So your strings go from the inside of him, go up by his face to the outside. And that's fairly important just to keep it so it can slide through. So where it's adjusted now, when I pull, on these reins, you can see this is fairly loose. So until he comes up into trouble and gets fairly high, that hasn't come into effect. Now, if I'm starting a horse in a set of Germans, I usually leave them very loose. I'll leave them out there. And then, this is where this horse naturally kind of leaves his head. You know, he's not a super low-headed horse. He's not high-headed, but this is just his natural place. So he's even fine. There's where I would ride him at it more often than not. I still have loose string until he comes up. You know, he has to come up to about there and put his nose out before that German comes into effect. So when I'm riding him, you know, all day long I'm sitting there using my reins just the way a horse normally would, you know, just direct rein, just using the leather reins, same as I would when I show with just leather reins. And then until he gets into trouble. And I think that is so important. You know, we see, and obviously if you have one that's a little more tucked in here naturally, he can go up into this top ring. And then if you have something that's maybe a little U-necked and, you know, really out there, then obviously put them into here. And then that one can adjust also. One of the reasons I like to leave that fairly long, and I'll likely lengthen this one out a little bit, is I don't ever want his nose to come in further than here. So why have it where if I pull on it, he's going to go further in? I have plenty of pull once he's in here. As soon as if he gets into trouble and he pops his head up, as soon as he brings it down into here, there's no need for me to pull him in further. You know, I'm not trying to make him go any further down than that. That's the most I need him to ever be at. So if that knot comes to here, you're not going to over pull him. Some horses, let's say I'm working a flag or a cow, and they're broke for it, I might put him up into here a little more so that horse sweeps by a little better and uses his neck and comes in, and I can adjust that on the go. So one of the things that I like about the Germans is I can be riding, and maybe I start out here, want to really work on a turnaround or really work on something, I can just reach, as I'm in the saddle, readjust it, you know, just by reaching over and changing here, and go looser or tighter as I see fit. And I can do that as they're riding. So it's really important to adjust them so that they have some freedom. A lot of times if I ride in snaffles, I will leave it where there's not really any wrinkles in here. And with the German, so there we go. A lot of times I'll leave it where it can go a little low. With the German, I won't leave it maybe as low as that. With bridle bits, the shank bits, I leave them even a little lower and then they have to suck them up. With the Germans, I don't really want to do that. I want to have them up into those lips a little bit so that if I do pull down, it doesn't drop down and hit into teeth. But other than that, that's about it. Keep it simple. So a square knot there, a lot more loose of that string than you really think you need. You know, everybody wants to fix it right away and tighten up that string, and I don't think that's a very beneficial way to look at it. I know like a lot of the barrel reins, and you can get these in barrel reins, you can get them in English reins. They come actually from more of the dressage world. First pair I ever saw were made with yarn. The old Dutchman I used to work with made a pair out of yarn of all things. They lasted forever. He liked them because there was no leather, so when he trail rode, he could put them in water. But the most important part is that there's a lot of slack in here. I think a lot of people think they need more, but they truly don't with one of these. You want to ride off those regular reins the most, and then if the horse gets into trouble, then that string comes into effect, similar to a draw rein once they get into trouble. Does that make sense?
I think so. If anybody has any questions, you guys are welcome to ask about the German Martingale, but I think we covered all of those questions that we had from our emails earlier in the day, and the overall question, which is how to set it up. I hope that that's clear for you guys. Joe's on his first Facebook Live. Is it his first one?
I hope he
Yeah.
cares.
No, he's in Momentum, but I don't think he's been on Facebook Live before. Okay, I think you've done a good job explaining it because I don't see any questions coming in. Excuse me. So we'll wrap this up. Thanks for being here with us and watching. I'll just turn this around. Thanks for being here with us, you guys, and watching tonight, and for sending questions in. If you have a question that you'd like for us to address, excuse me. Oh, Joe. If you have a question you'd like for us to address, you can send it to us by email, which is hayescofellph@gmail.com. If you'd like more info about Momentum, excuse me. If you'd like more info about Momentum and a personalized coaching experience, you can find that info at momentumhcph.com. Thanks a lot.
Have a good night.